It was a crisp autumn morning when Jack began his journey into the mystical forest. He had been planning this trip for weeks, and he was determined to find the ancient artifact that would grant him superpowers. Jack had always been fascinated by superheroes, and he dreamed of having incredible abilities that would allow him to fly, lift cars, and shoot laser beams from his eyes. He had spent countless hours reading comics and watching movies about powerful individuals who could do amazing things, and he was convinced that there was a way to obtain such abilities. As Jack walked deeper into the woods, he couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The forest was dense and filled with twisted trees, and he could hear strange noises coming from all around him. But he pushed forward, driven by his desire to find the artifact that would make him superhuman. He knew that he was taking a risk, but he was willing to take the chance. Hours passed, and Jack wandered deeper and deeper into the woods. The forest seemed endless, and he began to worry that he would never find what he was looking for. He grew tired and hungry, but he refused to give up. He pushed through the underbrush, his eyes scanning the ground for any sign of the artifact. Just as he was about to give up hope, Jack stumbled upon a clearing. In the center of the clearing was a strange, glowing crystal that seemed to pulsate with energy. Jack knew that this was the artifact he had been seeking. As he approached the crystal, he felt a surge of excitement and fear. He didn't know what to expect, but he was willing to take the risk. Suddenly, the crystal exploded in a burst of light, and Jack was knocked off his feet. When he regained his senses, he felt a surge of power coursing through his body. He looked down at his hands and saw that they were glowing with an otherworldly energy. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. For a moment, Jack stood there in disbelief, feeling the energy radiating from his body. He felt invincible, like he could do anything. He knew that he had found what he had been searching for, the artifact that would grant him superpowers. Over the next few days, Jack experimented with his newfound abilities, discovering that he had the power to fly, to shoot energy blasts from his hands, and to run at incredible speeds. He was amazed at what he could do and felt invincible. He couldn't wait to use his powers to help others. Excited by his new powers, Jack decided to use them to fight crime and save lives. He donned a colorful costume and took to the streets, eager to put his abilities to the test. He quickly became known as a hero among the people, and his legend spread far and wide. As he patrolled the streets, Jack encountered all sorts of criminals and villains. He fought off gangs, rescued hostages, and even stopped a bank robbery. He was quickly becoming one of the most well-known superheroes in the world. But as time went on, Jack began to realize that his powers came with a price. He was constantly being hunted by those who wanted to steal his abilities for themselves, and he found that he could never truly live a normal life. The forest that had once held the promise of greatness now seemed like a prison, and Jack wondered if he had made a mistake in seeking out superpowers. Despite the challenges he faced, Jack continued to fight for justice and help those in need. He used his powers to stop crimes and protect the innocent, never faltering in his determination to make the world a better place. However, as he continued on this path, Jack began to feel the weight of responsibility that came with his abilities. He couldn't always save everyone, and he struggled with the guilt of those he couldn't save. He also realized that the use of his powers had unintended consequences, such as property damage and unintended injuries. As he wrestled with these challenges, Jack became increasingly isolated from those around him. His friends and family couldn't understand the pressure he was under, and he found it difficult to maintain close relationships while keeping his superhero identity a secret. He began to question whether the sacrifices he was making were worth the benefits of his powers. One day, Jack received a call from an old friend who he had lost touch with. The friend invited Jack to a meditation retreat in the mountains, where he could take a break from his superhero duties and reconnect with his inner self. Jack was hesitant at first, but eventually, he decided to take the trip. At the retreat, Jack learned to focus on his breathing and clear his mind of distractions. He also met other individuals who were struggling with similar challenges and found solace in their shared experiences. As he meditated, Jack realized that his powers weren't the solution to all of his problems. In fact, they had created new challenges that he hadn't anticipated. After several days at the retreat, Jack returned to his city with a new perspective. He realized that he didn't need superpowers to make a difference in the world. Instead, he could make a positive impact by working with others and focusing on the small acts of kindness that could make a big difference. Jack continued to help people, but he did so in a different way. He volunteered at a local shelter, helped his elderly neighbors with their groceries, and took time to listen to the concerns of those around him. He found that these small acts of kindness brought him more fulfillment than any of his superhero activities had. Over time, Jack's superhero identity became less important to him, and he eventually hung up his costume for good. He realized that he didn't need superpowers to make a difference in the world, and that the most important thing he could do was to be a good person and help those around him. In the end, Jack found a sense of peace and fulfillment that he had never experienced before. He still remembered his time in the forest, but now he saw it as a valuable lesson in the dangers of seeking power at any cost. Instead, he focused on the simple things in life and found that they were the key to true happiness.